coming off of what was the apparently greatest sporting event that's ever happened since like God and Jesus left this place, right? That's what Lions Bears was.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I've never been more
I don't know what other
impressed.
game you'd be talking about.
Yeah.
Honestly, nothing else happened today.
Yeah, Tom Brady came back to Gillette, and then like God cried, and then Bills did nothing. Steve Belichick's a weirdo. Mac Jones is gonna get overhyped, but I don't really want to talk about that game, so that's why there's 6 of you to talk about it.
Yeah, just delegate,
I don't know, man. I felt like that Bucks defense really kind of like they hit like the highest high they possibly could in that Super Bowl. And then since then, I just feel like they've been on a steady decline because now everyone's holding them, myself included, to that same expectation where they just played like they all railed bumps of meth. And Devin White's a madman. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the loss of JPP tonight hurt them, a decent amount, but they still got to him.
Joe Tryon had 2 sacks in his starting snap debut. I mean, you look at every snap, though, literally, if you go back and look at every snap, Vita Vea is pushing 2 or 3 people over and just creating a lane for someone.
That
like I
dude is
told
a
you guys
bulldozer.
2 weeks ago, I said that defense revolves around Vita Vea. And last year it was like everyone creating plays for themselves. And now it's just Devin White and Vita Vea doing their thing.
Yeah, you can't expect
It's
them to
sustainable,
do
I get.
that for the offense, for the defense every single time. I mean,
No.
you can't just rely on 2 dudes to make plays over and over and over
Yeah.
again to free everybody else up.
It's not sustainable. I mean, the Patriots ran the ball like 10 times and had -1 rushing yards. I mean, they weren't even trying. So these dudes knew they had to defend the pass here. How about Richard Sherman? How about the Richard Sherman debut?
He was washed.
Garbage.
That wasn't the best outing.
How is he taking starting snaps?
It's because they have nobody else. That secondary is
It's him and Pierre Desir.
That secondary started at a very bad place. I mean, going into this game, they were 32nd of the league, and I think pass yards allowed and passing touchdowns allowed this year, which is just straight up the most simple measurement you can use for passing defense. But Sherman did nothing to improve that, and then they lost two defensive backs during the game as well. I mean,
Carlton Davis being the biggest one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, I like Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting, but I mean, it kind of revolves around Carlton Davis being who he was last year, and he hasn't been that guy since last year. So, I mean, it's obvious.
From what everyone was talking about during the week with how great Sherman was looking in practice, he let us down big time.
Well, I mean, if you're going against guys like Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting, you might look pretty good. But I think they're just so overhyped. This defense is just so stupid overhyped. Like, and Ndamukong Suh is not good anymore. Like, he's decent. I would say
he has like a splash play every now and then.
Yeah,
but generally he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that sustainable success that you kind of expected him to have.
I feel like if you were good in the league for a long time, you have those splash plays purely off of like experience and IQ. Like every once in a while, you'll get a read that you just think you can make a play on, or it's coming because you've seen it 1,000 times. Other times, you're just not effective. It's literally it's Vita Vea and Devin White. Antoine Winfield's not bad. Carlton Davis isn't. He's above average. Like they're just so stupid overrated.
I was really high on Winfield. I wanted the Ravens to take him back in the draft. So
yeah,
I like him a lot as a player. I think that he can go far. He just needs
development.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, how about the Patriots? I mean, despite an embarrassing -1 rushing yards on the night, Mac Jones looked pretty good, effective against. I mean, they're a decent defense. I'm not going to say they're bad. Maybe even above average. Mac Jones
I would say that they're more dangerous to a rookie who's not quite playing at NFL speed yet. I mean, they haven't exactly asked Mac Jones to do a ton, They've
Yeah.
made him, they've made him throw the ball a lot, but they're not complicated. It's not a complicated offense. It's very much, here we're going to scheme a man open over here, put it in the numbers, 7 yards downfield, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I
Think
feel like
about-
he's like one tier above, or like one step above game manager, or like facilitator.
I mean,
He's
if
an-
that,
yeah,
he's just learning. I mean, I think Bill Belichick's doing a pretty good job of
yeah,
weaning him into running an offense, but he's also Bill Belichick clearly suffered without having someone who has a ton of experience in his style of offense over the years. I mean, you take away him leaning on one of the most consistent quarterbacks of all time
yeah.
for
Well,
pretty
they
much
had-
his entire 2 decades in New England. You kind of we can say oh, was it Belichick, was it Brady, but really neither one of them would have had that same success without the other.
Right.
And Bill Belichick, it freed Bill Belichick up to take care of the things Bill Belichick's best at taking care of, like scheming defense and making
Yeah.
making good schemes that work both on offense and on defense. And without the QB to help manage the offense for him, he's got to either lean on his coordinators more or train the dude up to be a Brady copycat, and
Right.
that might be what he's trying to do here.
Well, and I think it kind of goes overlooked. I mean, Brady's the GOAT, but it's overlooked that he had Gronk, and Gronk, with or without Brady, is a good player. He had Randy Moss and Julian Edelman. Like he had really good playmakers for a while, and they had effective runners. Sony Michel's like rookie year, the LeGarrette Blunt stints. I mean, they had like good players. So, I mean, they're asking Mac Jones to like elevate people's talent level, and I mean that's a lot to ask. I do feel like he's doing like a pretty dang good job with Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, N'Keal Harry, Damian
he's
Harris.
not surrounded by weapons.
Right.
I mean, the Pats did have a good offseason for signing talent,
But like
but
no
not a great
It
offseason.
wasn't top tier.
star.
Yeah. I said this back on Wavelengths post free agency, that way back when the Patriots did exactly what bad teams do in the offseason, which is they sign a lot of like high tier but not top tier talent to top
Above
tier talent
average.
contracts. Yeah, above average to to elite contracts, and then expect them all to follow through. You know what? Maybe one of those, max 2 of those contracts actually hits on one of these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
Well,
the rest of them, you're just stuck with dead money, and that's going to screw them over long term if they can't make it work.
I mean, they have a room full of wide receiver 2s at best. And then they have Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry as their tight ends, and that's attractive. But like, you really can't share between the two. It's just not going to be effective. No one's going to get the stats they want or the touches. And I was expecting one of the two to pull away from the other, and we're just seeing them both play the tight end position. No one is reinventing themselves. So
yeah, no one's excelling as like a 2-way run block, pass block, catching threat, and no one's stepping up as like sort of that speedy Hollister style wide receiver almost at tight end.
Yeah,
and you're not seeing that elevation from either of them.
Yeah, I mean, they were hoping for like an uber athletic, versatile chess piece with Jonnu Smith and like a reliable red zone threat and pass blocker and Hunter Henry, and they're just not getting that. They wanted to stretch the field with Nelson Aguilar. I mean, Kendrick Bourne. I think Kendrick Bourne's doing his job. I mean, he's just got to be a reliable route runner from the slot, and that's what he's doing. But I mean, there is no one that is like making a name for themselves. Everyone's just kind of part of an offense for them, and I think they're going to struggle until they get their their centerpiece, their DeAndre Hopkins, their Stephon Diggs. So
yeah, I think that it could work well for this season to develop Jones because it's kind of forces them to keep it simple. You have a lot of guys who can effectively do the basics, which lets him sort of drum in those fundamentals and get him settled into the NFL and make him give him some growth for next year. But you can't admit 3 or 4 weeks into the season, no matter what your record is, that you're playing for next year. No matter how bad you are, you can't admit that. And I don't think they're going to.
when I look at the Patriots, I mean, you were talking about it, like bad teams do what they did in free agency, which is just sign all of these above average players to maybe overpaid contracts. And when I think about it more, I feel like they're banking on their drafts. So they're going to develop Mac with these above average guys, and then they're going to draft the centerpieces. So think of it like if the Vikings were filling their wide receiver room with a bunch of wide receiver twos, and then they bring in Justin Jefferson, so their centerpiece. Then, yeah, I mean, if they can find playmakers at key positions and guys who are really going to separate themselves from the pack in the draft, then they have them on rookie contracts and they're dishing their money to the supporting cast.
Mhm.
But that's a tough bet because you don't know if your draft picks are going to hit.
Yeah, and Bill Belichick hasn't historically hit on draft picks.
Right.
He's got a couple big booms, but for the most, I mean, you could look at most of their draft classes between 2000 and 2020, where like those not one player lasted more than 4 years in the league. That's on a rookie contract.
These high expectations come into play. I mean, Kyle Duggar is supposed to be like a poor man's Jamal Adams, but he's not. Like, he's like a serviceable slot guy who can maybe play in the box a couple snaps. So, yeah, I mean, I just think they're asking too much of these guys who go to D3 colleges and get drafted too high. So, yep, Patriots, Bucks. Feel like that's kind of the rundown. No one really impressed us. There's a reason Steven doesn't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah. It wasn't that good a game. Everyone had these high expectations, like it was going to be some huge emotionally charged event. Someone was going to blow the doors off. It was either going to be a huge upset or the Buccaneers were going to come in and stomp the Pats like expected. And honestly, we didn't get either of those things. We didn't get anything good out of it. All we know now is that the Bucs are probably worse than we thought, and the Patriots are probably as good as mediocre, which is better than we thought. I mean, we didn't learn anything new. We're just one more game further through the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew Judon, I thought, was the only player out of everybody they signed who was at least like doing something to an extent.
Separating themselves from everyone else. I agree.
But I think the Patriots are kind of on this track, like to where they're building for Mac Jones, and like it's obvious that like they're not going to win this year, but they're still like giving themselves a competitive. They're in this like weird, like almost sort of like free expectation zone where it doesn't matter because like, I mean, like we've seen it, like people,
they're just trying to develop their team.
like they're not entirely upset. Like fans aren't entirely upset that they just lost this game, but where does the line kind of draw with them?
Right. Well, I mean, I think both teams are in a bit of a limbo right now. So,
yeah.
Can I go now?
Please.
Take us off this topic, please.
Yeah, so that was way too much time spent on a lackluster 1-3 team. YouTube has these really interesting analytics where it's like how long people watch. It'll be like me saying something witty about the Patriots being bad, and then it's like, oh, they're still talking about them. Oh, so sorry. But if you're still here, there are other teams. There's actually other 1-3 teams that like people like hearing about. Robert Kraft didn't pay me to provide all this because I, like I said, didn't want to talk about it. Tom Brady, whatever. Mac Jones, check down Jesus. Let's talk about the Panthers and the Cowboys. Dak.
I loved that game.
That was a fun one.
I loved it. I grew up in Eastern PA. I'm a Ravens fan, but I come from a family of Cowboys fans. So I watch the Cowboys often. Honestly speaking, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Dak Prescott this year, coming back from his horrible injury.
He's confident.
He's confident in the pocket. Elliott is starting to run the ball very, very well. I feel like he took the rapport that was going on about him and Pollard taking his snaps, and he took it really personal. And he's just exploding on the scene. Wide receiving wise, I love CeeDee Lamb. I love Amari Cooper, and those are two number ones in any offense. Defensively, I think Trayvon Diggs is playing as good of a cornerback as you could be playing at the moment. Do I think he's the number one in the league? No,
he's number 2.
Yes,
behind Lattimore.
I'm just saying I wouldn't even go that far. I'm just saying at the moment he's on fire.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Panthers, Sam Darnold had a very decent game. It wasn't great. He threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. You are really, really seeing, as we talked about on Wednesday, that loss of McCaffrey is crippling them. And their defense played all right. I mean, it's so hard to stop this Cowboys offense. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I think that honestly, like Lincoln, what's his name? I can't think of it. The offensive coordinator
For
Joe
the
Brady
Cowboys.
or Kellen Moore?
Kellen Moore. That's
yeah.
it. I was gonna say Lincoln Riley from OU. He's a stud. I think that honestly speaking, after this year, he's going to be highly sought after as a head coaching position somewhere. And I think that he'll get it. And
Well, I mean,
yeah, I love it.
this is the reason everyone's here. Everyone's here to talk about, the fun and exciting stuff, and that's the Cowboys offense right now.
Oh yeah.
And here's the thing with Kellen Moore's offense. I like his offense, but it relies on a healthy rushing attack. It just so happens that they have 2 RB1s. I am confident saying that. So Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard split 30 snaps apiece today. They averaged 6.95 yards. Zeke had 7.2 yards. Pollard had 6.7 yards per rush. They combined for 210 rushing yards between the 2 of them on 30 touches. Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb were an afterthought. Think of that.
Yeah.
You have a team that has 2 wide receiver ones, some of the best in the league, and they're an afterthought because a team like Carolina, who supposedly had one of the best defenses in the league, has to stop Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. This is reminding me of 2017. We were talking about this last pod when Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara were like hot against the Bills. We ran the ball like 50 times. Every play was going to be a run, and the Bills knew it, and you just can't stop it because there's the bruising nature of Zeke. You hit everyone, you make them tired, and they don't want to hit you anymore, and they're slow. And then you hit them with Pollard on the outside. Doesn't matter. I mean, he'll run in between the tackles, but he's elusive and he's fast, and you don't want to have to chase him. And then you go back to Zeke, and he's just beating people up at the line of scrimmage, gaining yards, picking up the hard ones. Like, this is a really hard Cowboys offense to stop because if you can't stop the running game, they're just gonna pound it down your throats. The passing game's an afterthought. An afterthought with, like I said, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and a confident, healthy Dak Prescott.
In the best tight end room.
Right. Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz.
I think that since we're speaking about tight ends and running backs, you mentioned before that Carolina were really missing Christian McCaffrey. I think almost equally in this game they might have been missing Dan Arnold. I mean, he was really, really connecting well with
his role.
Sam
They missed the role that he filled. Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't have anyone else in the roster who does it the same way. And then letting him go along with a 3rd rounder to pick up CJ Henderson when Henderson actively looked like a liability against the Cowboys. It looks like they willingly let go of an important piece and future draft capital to get worse in the secondary. I mean, obviously that's an overreaction. It's been 1 game with 0 practices since the trade happened.
I'm too big of a CJ Henderson fan to let his first week in a new scheme affect my opinion.
Yeah, no, I do admit freely
you're
that
right,
that's
though.
a massive overreaction. But I mean, was it the right move to win now when they don't have anyone who can step up and fill in the role?
I'm not sure they were in the they're a team that can win now. They're still a very young team with very young coaches and an unproven quarterback who just came off a bad career with the Jets. So I'm not sure they win 3
I'm not
games. Sure they're winning now.
They won 3 games against 3 bad teams, and they get in their head about it.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, and I think CJ Henderson, when he's in a CB2 role across from JC Horn, like if they both develop, rookie CJ Henderson, I was like flat impressed with. His tape is good in the NFL and in college. Like, this is a lockdown man coverage guy. but he's got to get 4 weeks under his belt at least in this scheme. And JC Horn's out, so he's facing the top guys. He was definitely a liability. Like you are right, Yeston.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I said before that, Henderson, it could be a great pickup, but they need, he's not designed to be the CB1 in this roster right now. When he's there as like a band-aid solution until JC Horn gets back, and when Horn gets back, that's when we could see this trade really pay
That's
off.
when it's worth. Yeah, that's when it's worth Arnold in third. I mean, all these teams right now that are in this limbo, are we that team? Are we that good, or do we need some time? Like they're taking risks. The Patriots did it, like we were just talking about with their free agents banking on draft picks and stuff. The Panthers are banking on developmental guys throughout the season and hitting their stride when it matters most.
Yeah,
maybe
you can't
they're
expect
right,
them to
maybe
jump
they're
at
wrong.
week 6. You can't expect them to take a leap at week 8.
Right.
If you can expect growth in an off season. It's hard to expect it mid season.
Well, and if you look at the practice, if you look at what people were saying about CJ Henderson in practice this week, they're like, God, he's an athletic freak. He's got the physical tools and he knows technique, but he's just not fitting to his role as CB1, and he doesn't belong in this scheme yet. If you compare the schemes, the defensive schemes of the Panthers and the Jaguars, it is night and day. So,
Though maybe he just needs more time then.
He does,
and reduced responsibility with the return of Horn.
But they can't. There's no one they can rely on. Dante Jackson, we've seen Dante Jackson in a CB1 role, and he does much better when you match him up on the wide receiver 2, the speedster. If you give him one responsibility, you say this is your guy at the beginning of the week. You say this dude's fast. Okay, you're going to cover him all game long. Watch every snap he's ever played. Dante Jackson will do great in that role. But if you try to shuffle things around and put CJ Henderson in a different role, and you're putting Jackson in a different role, and you're putting more stress on a no-name free safety, and Jeremy Chin's caught in the middle of it, and you're screwing up that whole secondary. Then they're relying on their front 7, and you can't win games that way.
No. Coverage is just as important as pass rush.
Absolutely. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, you need both to really succeed.
So it was a great game. It was telling. And I think it answered a lot of questions, because this wasn't just a win by the Cowboys. They dominated. This was a victory.
Final score is misleading. They put up 24 straight points to start the second half before allowing 2 essentially garbage time touchdowns. This is not an easy front to run on. They kept Alvin Kamara to a low yardage, and the posse of old people that the Texans are running out there with David Johnson, Mark Ingram, and Phillip Lindsay. This is a good run defense, but Pollard and Zeke are everything the Cowboys were hoping for. So good game. It was telling. What else we got? Week 4 had some exciting matchups.
Hartley,
we could
feeling.
Feeling about my team?
Well, I was just, I wanted to get a pulse before we talk about the Eagles. No, like how you been? It's been a minute.
Patrick Mahomes coming off back-to-back losses. That's everything I expected the dudes out of this world, and I didn't really expect us to be able to cover Tyreek Hill at all. Did I expect a game that big? No, I don't think anybody would. But it is what it is. I just want Kenneth Gainwell to get more snaps. That's about it.
He was impressive. What do you have? 3 rushes for 31 yards or something? Like he had a high average and like a long of 13. So it wasn't just one big chunk play. He was pretty good. Devontae Smith, 7 receptions for 122 yards. That's encouraging to see, because he can be the guy, and Jalen Reagor can slide into this niche role that Sirianni wants him in. So I just hate watching Jalen Hurts go out there like playing football.
I like too that they're getting Zach Ertz involved with Dallas Goedert, because if you can get those 2 on a roll, then it's going to be hard for defenses to match up on you.
Yeah, they bring one or the other, and now it's kind of like you're seeing a little bit of both.
Yeah, they bring that Gronk Hernandez duo sort of. Not in exactly the same way, but they bring that same sort of which one. It's rare that a team has anyone who can actually match up well with a quality tight end. any one player who can do it, let alone when you have two guys who can play similar roles on the field at the same time. It makes things
That
difficult.
he's fitting, considering at the end of last season he thought that would be it for himself, and then he wants out, but then there seems like the front office was asking for too much, and it's just for feel good sake. It's good to see him still playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Yeston, you meant off of football ability, right? You're not speculating one of these men may murder.
Well, I mean,
NFL.
would not, to be fair, I didn't think Hernandez was going to murder, and then suddenly,
There was a lot of things we all didn't know about Aaron Hernandez.
yeah.
But
So,
I don't want to toot my own horn just yet. We're gonna get to that a little later. Hopefully if we retain
what did you know
anybody.
about Aaron Hernandez?
No, not like that. But Jalen Hurts played pretty well, and I said
You
I
did.
wanted Jalen Hurts to play really well last week, but then
Hmm.
I don't know. Peyton and Eli kind of just poo-pooed all over him. And
Some
mean-
people said he's not a starting quarterback coming into this season.
Is this a bad Chiefs defense?
Oh,
it's
is
terrible.
Definitely.
Without a pass rush, if you can hold that pass rush off for 3 seconds per snap, then you can absolutely abuse this Chiefs defense. And it feels good as someone who's a big fan of an AFC contender, to know that the Chiefs are vulnerable, and it's a big vulnerability. Sure, they can cover for it,
And
but
you
they're
know how
one of the
to
best.
beat them too.
Exactly. We know how to beat them. We can see, we've seen it on tape, and unless they change something to fix that, they're going to be extremely vulnerable come the playoff time, because
So-
every playoff contender nowadays is a huge passing game, except for Tennessee and Baltimore. They're the only two teams that can make the playoffs right now that don't have that sort of the
I
ability
disagree,
to manipulate
sir.
that secondary.
I disagree, sir.
I'm open to you
316
disagree.
yards.
Okay.
316 yards. We found
Okay.
our wide receiver number 1 in Hollywood Brown. He finally got out of his slump. I'm
But,
taking
okay.
it all.
It's
So-
week 4. He does great
I'm
until week
taking it
5 every week.
wait, I want to
taking
talk
it all.
about Nick Sirianni and his highlighter collection. We're not on the Ravens yet. Come on. I don't know why everybody hated on this look. It works. I feel much more efficient with the way I'm going to scheme the way this podcast goes in the final half.
So, I think and you brought up a really good point that this Chiefs team has a clear weakness on their defense, and it's their pass rush. I had to find this out in an unconventional manner. Last week I was doing some Saints film study, and Tano Passignon, you guys remember him? 6'7" athletic freak. I mean, this dude moved like a safety in high school. And he went to Villanova. He was raw as all get out. And he started for the Chiefs for like 2-3 years, but all he was like a run stuffer. He had like maybe 2 sacks a year. I think he has 2 sacks now, and he's like one of our best pass rushers. And I was like, oh, well, did this dude just take a leap, or what was wrong with the Chiefs? And like, the Chiefs defense is set up so that they're banking on talent. And they had Frank Clark and Chris Jones for long enough that talent was just enough to get by in the pass rush. I don't know what happened. I don't know if
Well, Frank Clark's been out.
I don't know. Well, I know he's been out. I don't know if like Chris Jones lost a step or something, but like
He's
they
getting
can't-
double teamed.
they can't get to the freaking quarterback.
Frank Clark
Oh,
was
he's also
like
playing
7
defensive end
trade.
now. He's also
Yeah,
playing defensive end.
that's a dumb move.
I just don't understand that. Unless you are playing in a 3-4, which would be awful to go back to unless they can reacquire D Ford, like it's bad. They can't hit the quarterback, and you can't win football games unless you hit the quarterback.
I mean, my thing is, without Frank Clark, who are you rushing passer with? Like Chris Jones is
Mike
being
Dano.
double, triple teamed. You got Jaron Reed, who hasn't
He's
been
Jaron
good
Reed.
in ever, yeah. And then you got Alex Okafor backing him up. So
How old
you
is
got
he? 50?
nobody,
45?
pretty much. Probably
Alex
older.
Okafor is older than Rocks. Like
He's
these-
older than Brady.
But also, we know the Chiefs. They'll trade a second and a good player for some stud in the before the deadline, and
The last like 1 year, and then
you know how this works. There is someone that I've been waiting to rave about. Has anyone been keeping up with Javon Hargrave?
Yes,
dude's
actually.
Oh, my
Yeah, he's a stud.
Sweet baby Jesus. He was
lot
a
of people
nose
thought we
tackle.
overpaid him.
He was nothing but a man eater, and he just waited in his lanes and his gaps to stuff the run. That was all he was. He has 5 sacks. I think he's had a sack every game, maybe. And he is just ragdolling people. And at this point, it is clear that they are trying to double team him. Like, they know he is a man eater on the inside, and he is not. He's like, he does everything. I can't say he is just a 1 technique or 0 technique. Like, he's playing every position right now. They still have Fletcher Cox. Brandon Graham's done, but they have Derek Barnett. They paid a ton of money to Sweat, Josh Sweat. And I mean, this is a fun line to watch. And Javon Hargrave, like, this dude has Vita Vea potential, like defense changing power in the middle of a D line.
How y'all feel about Sweat?
I think he's not bad. His college tape showed that he could be special, but he hasn't been so far. So I think this is another team taking a big risk where they paid a ton of money hoping that he'd become what they spent a 2nd-round pick on.
I mean, just by
I'm not
watching
sure if
the
he was
Eagles,
worth that contract
He's a
yet.
4.
I mean,
He's a 4th
just
round
by
pick.
yeah, just going off of what I've seen, because as I've watched a lot of Birds, he's consistently putting pressure on the quarterback, but he's not finishing. It's reminding me a lot of Yannick Ngakoue,
Oh my God, yeah.
where he's consistently like in their face, backing their tackle up, but he can't get the sack, and he can't execute it. So
finish.
every time, exactly. So every time he's right there, they throw the ball out or he escapes them. And
Yannick
that's what I'm
Ngakoue in
seeing.
his big 2017 season had Calais Campbell opposite. And it all works out because if you have one stud on one side that is getting to the quarterback and is creating massive pressure, if you can be a player like Ngakoue where you create pressure, but you have a stud across the line from you, then those pressures become sacks. He can't be the guy. I mean, now that he's in Las Vegas and he has Max Crosby, who is just embarrassing people week in and week out, like he has that again, and his tape reflects it. He's getting quarterback hits, and running back or quarterbacks are still flushing to Max Crosby's side, but they'll learn that they need to stay away from Crosby, and then Ngakoue gets his box score numbers up. So but yeah, no, I mean, you're right. That's what Montez Sweat is, and he doesn't have his Calais Campbell or Max Crosby right now. Brandon Graham isn't that when he's Josh Sweat, but he isn't that when he's healthy either. Brandon Graham is not that pass rushing nightmare because he's always had Fletcher Cox. So I think it's a confused Eagles defensive line, but they're fun to watch right now with what they've got going on in the interior. What do you think, Ethan?
I mean, for a 4th round pick, I mean, I'm fine with how he's developed and he's somewhat become a steal. I mean, I think he still has a long way to go. Like, kind of already mentioned, he doesn't really finish, but he's always there, like, right in, Mahomes' face in this case. But I mean, it's nice that Hargrave's paying off well. I think, him with Cox is kind of like a nice duo of what we kind of hoped for with Malik Jackson, and then he just kind of sucked. He really sucked, honestly. But I mean, yeah, overall, I mean, obviously I didn't expect the win, but I'm still in the no expectation zone, which, I mean, there's nothing really to expect with this Eagles team just yet, just as long as players are developing and, it's pointing in the right direction.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick East Coast detour, run through a couple that nobody really wants to hear about. Bears beat the Lions. Sorry, Dan Campbell, you're getting there, pal. Colts got win 1. Scary Terry lived up to the nickname. Taylor Heineke's that guy. Sorry, Bills fans. I really don't want to talk about Davis Mills and 40-0. We'll talk probably at great lengths about Chiefs Bills, rightfully so, but that one we don't need to.
As long as you know that Josh Allen's back and he's here to dominate, and this defense is looking like it's 2019 form, I know it was Davis Mills. But I'm just really happy.
We look good.
Yeah.
Today.
I'm really glad though
really
that we've secured Tyrod Taylor's starting job. That's like one for you, man. Feels nice.
I'm
Chris,
sure it does.
Chris, I know you're new. I always like to be nice to everybody and especially the new guys, but Ravens should have
But-
beaten the Broncos, and they did convincingly. We'll talk about the Broncos and how they're not the team we think they are on Tuesday. We'll talk about the Broncos because they got a primetime game, convincing win for them. Packers did what they were supposed to against the Steelers, who can't seem to do anything right.
We knew
Seahawks
that.
beat the 49ers, kind of an upset. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be out probably. Finally, Trey Lance plays.
3 weeks is what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah,
3 to
I'm
5
getting
weeks.
the same. I don't expect it. I expect it to be around that time. There's no reason to assume otherwise, but I don't know if Trey Lance can keep them afloat in that time. He didn't look great out there.
No,
I just don't think he's ready. He needs time.
But 3 to 5 weeks is enough time to say you still need to develop, or this is your offense. So
Yeah.
this is pivotal for the Niners and their season and their future. So
Yeah, it's
we'll see.
we could Jimmy G might have already taken his last snaps at QB for them if this is the case. So
right.
Do we think he can keep the starting job away from Jimmy G this season once he returns healthy?
He
I mean-
can. He has the physical tools and the wow factor to do it.
Yeah.
But will he? I don't even think Kyle Shanahan can answer that.
yeah, I think that he had Andrew's right. We've got all the traits. He's got all the traits that he needs to make it work. It's just about convincing the front office and convincing the coaching staff that he is their plan for the future.
He has the time to do it now.
Yeah,
This is it.
yeah, exactly. He knows, he gets to look at his mistakes and understand that next week he can try and fix them. He's not going to be on the bench.
Right.
And that it's those kinds of the growth through your mistakes and the ability to come back and take on your next one right after that is what convinces coaching staff above all else in a lot of scenarios. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy G's already gone, but I wouldn't be surprised if they decide that Lance isn't ready yet and they want to keep Jimmy G around for another season and maybe move him this offseason instead.
I mean, this was his first real game he's played in this year. That's not maybe 2-3 snaps here and there doing design runs and handoffs. So
Yeah,
no
but-
one does well when you're thrown into a situation like that where the game plan is not made for you.
Yeah.
So
I was
we
literally
don't
just
know
gonna say
anything
that.
yet.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't matter
exactly.
who it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just you need to. It's just like when what Nagy did for Justin Fields last week. It wasn't Justin Fields.
Nagy
running-
didn't do anything for Justin
That's
Fields.
that's my whole
he-
point. He didn't
he
even
fucking
run
killed him.
plays that are designed for his skill set. He's like, "Oh, good, Andy Dalton," and he goes, "No, I'm Justin Fields, sir." And he's like, "Sure thing, Andy, get out there." And it's so frustrating to watch Nagy coach. It hurts my soul.
It has been since they had that 12-4 season. Like if you actually look at like the things that can be influenced by coaching in that season, you are like, Jesus, he was never good.
Yeah.
They had Vic Fangio running their all-time defense. That is one of the best defenses we've seen in recent memory. And
Oh yeah, and they also had a massively unsustainable turnover rate. Like you genuinely cannot reproduce turnovers like that for a season. Like
Prince Amukamara looked like Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, I mean he was on. That defense was unbelievable. I mean, what was it, Eddie Jackson?
Yeah, Eddie Jackson,
Eddie
Lights out.
Amos, Khalil Mack.
Had a huge season. Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd was there. Akeem Hicks was having a crazy season. Eddie Goldman had his best season at nose tackle. That was Roquan Smith's rookie year. Danny Trevathan was there. I think
Guys
they had a
could-
good strong safety.
Guys
So
could take
one of the
snaps with their
bowlers.
eyes closed and expect the ball to be in their hands.
Bryce
by the end of the
Callahan,
play. It was crazy.
that was when Bryce Callahan was like CB3, Prince Amukamara, Kyle Fuller, and Bryce Callahan. They all had their like career years. So
Yeah, that made me buy in on Prince Amukamara, and I've been looking like an idiot ever since.
God, yeah, you have. He didn't make it through the offseason with the Saints.
No,
So
he
amazing.
probably was there 2 weeks.
I think he was there. He played like 7 snaps in a preseason game, and he was cut the next morning.
It was about as short-lived as Devontae Freeman's time there too. So
Yeah. So
And look at the Ravens feast on all their leftovers.
You say feast. It's like a
Yeah.
snack right now. I'm still not convinced on the Ravens this
they,
year.
they are grazing on their leftovers.
Yeah, they're out there in the field just.
Listen, the way I'm
Needs
looking
ketchup.
at this season is this:
It's a throwaway year.
Are we talking about the Ravens now?
I'm just saying this. The only way I'm looking at this season is we beat the Chiefs. That's it. We can put away everything. If we
You
go
won your
far,
Super
we go
Bowl.
far.
Wow.
We won our Super Bowl. We go
Eh.
far. We go far. We did it at
Wow.
Arrow. When we did it at M&T. I don't care.
Oh, cool. So you're telling me 3-14 is acceptable then?
High draft pick, baby.
I mean,
Ooh, hell
granted, the
yeah.
fact
They
that
could
we
finally
have,
get an actual number 1 wide receiver.
Kyle Hamilton, perhaps.
bro, we haven't even seen Rashad Bateman play.
I'm not.
Don't
I'm
get
not
all
thrilled at the
defensive,
prospect.
Chris.
You're starting to sound like that dude on TikTok, We Hoopin, whatever his name is. That guy makes you all look bad.
I
I don't know who that is.
okay.
Good.
See, I do like the Ravens, but I think there's too many problems for them to truly be
We
like
have,
playoff
like,
competitors right now.
15 people in IR. That's one problem.
Yeah,
If
and
we
you
did
That's why
had-
it's a
and
throwaway
you
year.
didn't fill any of those holes. I mean, there's they acknowledge all offseason, this is a championship contending team. They were in the divisional round last year. They've made they've got this massive powerhouse offense in the right when it works, but they have this defense which can really contend with some of the best in the league on a good day, but they lack a lot. They lack that consistency, and when problems arose, they elected not to fix them, both in the
What are you
offseason,
talking about?
in the draft,
And they fixed it with
and now
Le'Veon
during the
Bell.
injuries. Yeah, it's
Fixed it with Le'Veon Bell and Latavius Murray.
yeah. If you truly believe you're a
What other
competitor, then you
options do they have at that point?
trade away draft capital for established veterans who can actually provide
Marlon Mack?
the wealth you need. I mean,
Sure, yeah.
yeah, go for it.
Fit well.
You got to get somebody.
I mean, I will concede that there's nothing they could really have done about this offensive line going down the way it did, but at the same time, I mean, the offensive line was actually one of the highlights of today, even with the injuries. So I think that all they need to do is figure out how to
I think
actually fix these holes. Otherwise, they're giving up on the year.
you can't really do much. The Colts won't trade away Marlon Mack to you because we literally play them this coming Monday night. They're not going to do that to an interconference person. That's been proven time and time again. Just like how the Texans and the Ravens were very, very close to a deal for D-Hop, but they traded him to the Cards because they didn't want to face him come playoff time.
Is Marlon Mack
will
really
bring
a
absolutely
guy that you're afraid
nothing
of
compared
playing
to DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm just saying it's that same principle of teams don't want to trade them to people where they're going to see them again.
I'm
I
not sure
understand
Marlon
that.
Mack's one that you're afraid of playing.
Yeah,
Exactly. He's a third string running back.
like I'll understand
Then
if the Ravens.
if he's a third string running back, isn't Latavius Murray a third string on a good day? Isn't Tyson Edwards a third string on a good day?
No, Tyson is like a 2 on a good day.
Yeah,
Exactly. Then why was he a healthy scratch? I don't know. It hurt my head.
Yeah, see that, but that's sort of what I mean is that they're not patching their issues at all. They're not looking for solutions. Although you don't hear about.
Yeah.
They're not bringing in every
They're trying
free
to get
agent off
by.
the market to take a look. Yeah, they're trying to survive it. They're
But you
acting like these guys are
you
coming
can't
off
do that and win
IR by
big
mid-season.
games.
Yeah.
You can't do that and sustain. Like if you want to go to the playoffs, you can't do that.
They should have
We'll
been
see.
on CJ Henderson.
Yeah.
That's the kind of move they
Yeah.
should.
They
have
got
made.
to be in on people if you want them to win this year, and they just aren't.
Yeah,
They're fighting these old vets.
Yeah, their coaches are doing just fine with what they have, but the front office needs to step up and be willing to make the sacrifices to, trade away a 2022 third
I
round to
think
get what you need.
come deadline, they will get someone.
Mhm.
I'm not sure who. That'll obviously be a lot more rumors closer to the deadline when people aren't close to expectations or fulfilling well or doing contract years and no one's making a steady movement with agents.
Mhm.
And the Ravens have about 10 picks this coming year. So I do think they will trade some away. And I mean, they've done it in the past where they traded a 5th round and Miles Jack. No, not Miles Jack. What was it? It was a linebacker. Anyways, a 5th round and a linebacker to the Rams. They got Marcus Peters.
Kenny Young.
Kenny Young, that was it.
And look
then
how
after
Kenny
that,
Young's doing now.
he was all right. He's
Yeah,
a
he's
pretty
playing
good
pretty good.
linebacker. Yeah.
Eh,
I always knew the guy was going to be. I knew he was going to be good since his like first preseason game, and he popped off Gardner Minshew. Literally took his
Yeah.
head off.
but I also remember Kenny Young had troubles in Baltimore that we thought were going to develop out of him. But he was never given time to develop. He was thrown into a starting role since with the Rams and hasn't looked back. So,
Yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of trades they need to make though, because Marcus Peters was an immediate impact and he turned the tide with the turnover battles. And I doubt the Rams turned that 5th rounder into anything special. And Kenny Young is a serviceable, maybe less than that starter at inside linebacker. So we know they're capable of making those moves. They did it with Ngakoue too, and then they found out he didn't work, and they shipped him off.
Did it with Campbell.
I mean, they are ready.
Campbell's there.
Make moves.
He's not doing much.
They're ready. They're ready to make moves. They've done it before. They need to pull the trigger sooner rather than later, or their record is going to stymie.
I don't think so, man. A lot of their prospects are stepping up, and that's just me. I mean, anyways, this is enough time talking about them. This is a topic for another day.
Andrew, do you wear a fitness band or anything like that?
I carry my phone around with me. It tracks everything.
Is your heart rate doing okay right now?
Why?
Do you feel calm?
Yeah, I feel pretty calm.
Okay, you're gonna go last then.
Oh, good Jesus.
The Saints lost to the Giants, and I don't know what is going on in New Orleans. Like, what? One week they beat the Packers in Jacksonville, and then they lose to the Giants.
It was a fluke.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yell, but like I just really wanted my point to get through to you in case you forgot somehow.
Okay, hang on.
How do you
before
let
we
Daniel
get too
Jones
far off
throw
topic,
for 400 yards?
before we get too far off that last topic, that 5th round pick that they traded for Marcus Peters got bounced around a bunch and eventually became Darnell Mooney for the Bears.
Ooh.
So then
they messed up and they did the wrong pick.
Yeah.
So you essentially traded Marcus Peters for Darnell Mooney.
For Kenny Young, because they didn't get Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, for Kenny Young, and then what did they even get for that trade? They didn't get any. They got like, I think they used that pick to trade up, which is funny because they have no first rounders. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Giants, Saints.
Giants, Saints. Ethan, you said you go.
Saints let Daniel Jones throw for 400 yards somehow. I'm not sure how you let someone like him throw 400 yards, but Saints managed it.
It takes a lot of dimes to make 400.
And you let John Ross get a touchdown somehow.
Yeah,
Although,
how did he score that 80-yard TD?
I mean, I think
it was 54.
Same thing. It still counts as 6 points. It's still such great defense.
Happened.
Yes. He's John Ross.
Yeah, John Ross is a scrub. It's the bottom line. I mean, sure, he broke the 40-yard dash time, but
yeah, but so could you. You're pretty quick.
52-yard bomb. Yeah. So what? Yeah. It seems like the Saints. It really just falls down to like how they wake up in the morning, I guess, because it seems like it's literally just back and forth at this point. I mean, you have shit games against, today wasn't awful compared to Carolina, but like it's the Giants who obviously want to win. It's Daniel Jones. He's just a quarterback you laugh at this point. And somehow he did it. And Jabril Peppers got a legendary meme. But yeah, who knows? Who knows how they'll end up at the end of the season, because they're not consistent and you just don't know.
Someone else go. Tova's still a little too hot right now.
Waiting.
Yeah, he's looking a little red in the face. Yeah, that was something. I'm not entirely sure what happened myself, but it's just I don't know what to take with these Saints. I mean, 1 week they'll blow out Green Bay, then they'll fall apart against some of the worst talent in the league, and then they'll play really well again, and then this. And I just think that Okay, this is going to be the least analytical thing I've said all night, which is quite a stretch. But who knows? Perhaps, the curse of shameless Jameis Winston has passed on to the team as a whole, and we don't know what we're going to get each week. Is it a 4 interception kind of day? Or is it, a 5 TD kind of day? I don't understand how they are so inconsistent. You can't just be this good and then this bad. I know it's a matchup based league, but it just doesn't work quite like that. The extremes aren't that far.
You allowed Kenny Galladay 116 yards on 6 receptions when he's only starting receiver that they had healthy. You only had to zone in on him. Like this should have been probably a 50-yard day for him.
So, how they say, blank team, all they have to do is not beat themselves.
And then they beat themselves. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like the Saints in 2021 treat themselves like the Saints. They're not like worried about like beating themselves. They're like, we're a trap game to ourselves. We're going to lose to teams that we shouldn't. And then we're going to beat teams that we can kind of contend with, but not really beat. And then Taysom Hill's like getting rushing touchdowns, poaching Kamara's fantasy points, and then throwing interceptions.
Can I go yet?
Probably,
my
I
guess.
think you should.
Did hearing this help at all? Or are you still going to be a little...
No, because here is my level-headed take on it. The first thing I want to say, is I hate how everyone who doesn't watch games puts it on Jameis. I don't think he's the second coming of God. I don't think he's our franchise quarterback until he proves it. I don't think he is the reason for our problems. I just think that's the easy way out here. We have a couple problems. The first and foremost on offense today was Sean Payton. His clock management was awful. His decisions on when to go for it on 4th and short and when to kick it were awful. And his play calling was bad. In the first half and into the third quarter, we saw him open up the offense for Jameis Winston, and he was dealing. He was playing well. That is what got us the lead, was letting Jameis go. Alvin Kamara had 120 rushing yards today. He wasn't used at all in the passing game. This was all on Juwan Johnson, Adam Troutman, Deontay Harris, Marquez Callaway, and that's literally pretty much it. So that brings me to my second problem. We have no wide receiver. There's no one to look for. Deontay Harris is a good speedster. Marquez Callaway, he can develop and he gets better every week, but he's just not that guy yet. We miss Michael Thomas and Traquan Smith bad. And there's just no one to look to in those clutch situations. And usually who you look to is Alvin, and he didn't even get a target today. But we ran the football really well. We have a backup at left tackle and a backup we have a backup at left tackle. We have our starter at left guard. We have our right guard at center. We have a backup at right guard, and we have our starting right tackle. So 3 of the 5 positions on our O-line is different. We didn't allow a QB hit or a sack today. We allowed maybe 2 tackles for loss, I think, but they blocked really well for Kamara. Jameis had time in the pocket. So my problem boils down to Sean Payton's play calling on the offense. If we kept pounding the rock efficiently, being cognizant of the play clock, and then just letting Jameis rip it when he needs to, then we would have done better. Defense is my real issue here. Cam Jordan's lost a step. Our best pass rusher right now is Peyton Turner, and he is actually not bad. Like, I know I'm the biggest Peyton Turner stan in the world, but like he had 2 QB hits today. He had 5 pressures. He, I think, maybe had a tackle for loss. Cam Jordan had a tackle for loss. But we're really, really missing Marcus Davenport right now. He's one of our best pass rushers. Peyton Turner and Marcus Davenport are our best pass rushers. We are sorely missing David Onyemata, who's serving a 6-week suspension. He's our defensive tackle, our 3 technique. He is also a monster in the middle, but we're missing him. We had no pass rush today, and it hurt us. Then you get into the linebackers. We have Demario Davis. Pete Werner played great. That is one of the few bright spots from today, if any. Maybe my biggest one is that I was actually really happy with Pete Werner today. He's our second round pick out of Ohio State, and everyone was like, oh, the little technical white boy from Ohio State. Well, he's playing really well. He seems to be the cover man that Demario Davis needed across from him. We have a great safety duo in Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams. So my biggest issue here is not Marshawn Lattimore, because obviously he's a good cornerback. Paulson Adebo is starting and playing 100% of the snaps right now. We traded a 3rd round pick for Bradley Roby, and we think that he's the answer. Where has he been? All day long, they were just dusting Paulson Adebo, and they were giving him his welcome to the NFL. And he has been maybe above average for a rookie, but he just gets caught in mental lapses time and time again. That Saquon Barkley 52-yard touchdown was a Paulson Adebo mental lapse. John Ross caught the touchdown on Paulson Adebo. Kadarius Toney looked like what we all hoped he would be because he was in coverage against Paulson Adebo. He was bad. And Bradley Roby's playing too much from the slot. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is not the problem. He talks his shit and he makes tackles and he's aggressive. Our problem today was not defensive play calling. We have no pass rush. We have no CB2. Our play calling on offense was bad, and we have no wide receiver to look to. I can't make excuses. My hope is that when the cavalry returns after our week 6 bye, that being Michael Thomas, Quan Alexander, Marcus Davenport, Eric McCoy, we're going to get David Onyemata back. Traquan Smith is coming back. We're going to be at full strength and hit our stride late in the season, but I can't make excuses for what happened today. We deserved the loss after how poorly we played today.
That's something that I've been very I'm quite curious to see is when that week 6 bye comes by, because even before the season they were expecting Michael Thomas to come back after the week 6, and I feel like there is real potential there with a guy like Jameis throwing it. But I'm so curious to see how this defense rebounds when they get healthy. If they're able to get fully healthy by sort of that important mid-season sort of run, if they're able to get healthy and in form, can they sort of make this team into a competitor in the NFC again? Because they really are so close. They just can't seem to get it all together with everybody out like that.
I think that the inconsistencies will be solved when we get our best players back. I mean, we are missing some of our best players in key spots. But I can't say that we're going to be a playoff team when they come back. We don't know. I think they'll fix inconsistencies and we'll be what we are. If we are a yo-yo up-down team, then that's what we are when they come back. If we're a team that wins 2, loses 1, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then that's what we are. If we are a Super Bowl team, then we're a Super Bowl team. If we are a top 10 draft pick, we're a top 10 draft pick. We will only know when week 7 comes. But for now, this is all on the shoulders of Sean Payton being a mastermind, working with what he's got. And this was a bad showing from him. And that's that. It took Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton to be out for Jason Garrett, that idiot, to figure out what he has in Kadarius Toney and how to use the speed of John Ross to open up an offense. When Jabril Peppers got his meme moment of the century after they won the coin toss, that's when I knew that it was over, because we can't stop that. Not right now, not with the players we're missing. So I don't know. I think the Saints are a mystery, to be honest.
Speaking,
we just not gonna know yet.
Are those books behind you old scouting reports still though?
Books as in, let's see.
Oh no, those are baskets.
They're baskets. Yes.
Yeah, they look like those like fancy books.
No, all of my scouting reports is in, I call it one big ass file, and it's like a terabyte of football knowledge.
I thought you were gonna say it's on the sportswave.net, but whatever. I mean,
no. I gotta release things slowly.
Yeah.
But,
slowly, 5 articles a day you're posting. So
right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I've had the Zach Wilson headband on for about an hour now, and I've bit my lip on the Jets.
Yeah, you stuffed it for the Pens.
I'm going to say I think he looked good today because
He did.
his protection was better than weeks before. And we said this last week. He got hit on 50% of his throws. 50%. You snap the ball and you're already running for your life because you know what's
He's
coming.
got 1 second to throw the ball too.
Yeah,
before
like I mean, if
pressure
this
gets
kid
there.
develops through this kind of adversity, he's gonna have the quickest snap to throw time in the NFL in NFL history. But like, he looked good today. He elevated the talent of those around him. Corey Davis looked good.
Yeah, and he negated a lot of that, a lot of sort of the areas of strength that Titans defense just worked around them. You know, whether it was like a good sort of set of play calls or not, who's to say, or whether it's his talent. But I think that he looked good.
I'm not sure if I've mentioned this already, but I want to know what's going on with Marvin Mims because he was activated, or Denzel Mims. Sorry,
Denzel Mims.
Yeah, Denzel, but because he was activated for first time in forever, and he probably got a good amount of snaps too, and he didn't get a single target when he was their second round highly touted receiver last year.
He can't create separation. That's the problem with Big 12 receivers. It's been the problem for a while now. There is one thing I forgot to say real quick. Week 7, the Saints get Will Lutz, their kicker, back, and that is big. Aldrich Rosas has been 1 for 4, so that's a game changer. But
Lutz is elite.
On to the Jets. I think Zach Wilson played well, but the defense was really what was impressive to me today. I think this was a scheme win. Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, they all had great games. It makes me imagine, like, what if they had Carl Lawson still and they can develop these high draft picks. I mean, Quinnen Williams, I think, has 5.5 sacks or something through 4 weeks. Like, he's looking like what he's supposed to be. He has a high sack number through 4 weeks. So maybe Robert Saleh's defense is coming together. But I mean, it's all lying on Zach Wilson, and we're not going to look too much into it. It's a good team that they beat. They weren't supposed to win, and they pulled it out in overtime. Do we expect them to start going on an 8-game win streak? No.
Yeah.
But this was encouraging to see from Zach Wilson for what the media sees him as.
And speaking of Zach Wilson, speaking of that Jets defense, I want to flip to the Titans offense, and I want to know, these 5 guys that show up and they run block for Derrick Henry, and they make these holes and he marches through them and they just power over the opposition. But those exact same 5 guys seem to fail pretty consistently in pass protection. Is that a scheme problem, or do these guys just lack?
They're just run blockers.
I don't think
Mekhi Becton's out. Mekhi Becton's out. Elijah Vera Tucker, we knew this in college. He was a run blocker before he was a pass protector, and he's just not developing at the rate we want. He'll develop. He just isn't at the rate that we want to see. And it's weak. Aside from that, Morgan Moses and what's his face? He was the swing tackle for the Seahawks. He's their starting left tackle now. So
George Fant, you're talking about?
George Fant, yeah. So it's just a discouraging situation right now. I think they have Connor McGovern starting too, which is just, they'll get better. This whole team is developing at about the same rate right now. So they'll start to win games, more of them, towards the end of the season.
But it's probably going to take a while too.
Yeah, this is more of what we've seen in the beginning weeks. This is like 2 losses, 1 win, if that. So
Tolva was so mad about the Saints still that he talked about the Jets offensive line.
Yeah, I was talking about the Titans offensive line and how they could manage to run block effectively but can't pass block at the same time.
Yeah, and then I said I think they hate Ryan Tannehill, and then you said Mekhi Becton, and I was like, one of those things is not like the other.
Because the theory applies.
Well, the Jets is the storyline here to me. I don't think the Titans have been impressing anyone. Derrick Henry's still rushing for 150 yards a game.
But Derrick Henry isn't the Titans. I mean, he can't be the Titans. It has the biggest
nose ring I've ever seen in my life.
Does it hurt?
Well, he's a bullback, isn't he?
Does it hurt
that bad
to have Julio Jones and AJ Brown out? Like, did it actually hurt that bad?
Oh,
they lost to the freaking Jets. I mean, I wouldn't say
Titans are an overrated
they
team
weren't doing
anyway.
anything really out of this world with them. So
that's what I mean.
Yeah, and Tenney had no time to throw anyway because it's not the Jets defensive line is far from being an absolute powerhouse, but they're trending up with Saleh scheming them. And I think
Shaq
that
Lawson's been MIA too.
Yeah.
yeah, you know what? He's been so MIA. I kind of forgot about him.
That was such a hyped up trade too before the season started. And
Yeah,
now he's trash.
yeah. You can't even find him out there. I don't even know what his snap count was.
No.
He gets
I think it
bullied
was
by every
low.
tackle.
I
He
mean,
gets bullied bad.
he's just fallen. He's falling. I mean, it's nice to see CJ Mosley returning to his old form.
Yeah, that is encouraging.
He 13 tackles. He had 10 total, and then Quincy Williams is seeming to be quite the pickup at Sam for them. He had a sack today, 2 tackles for loss. He had a pass defended and 12 total tackles, 10 of them being solo. You look at Quinnen Williams. He had 2 sacks today. John Franklin Myers seems to still be a consistent interior presence. He had a sack today. Bryce Huff is the result of a good scheme. He had 1.5 sacks today. And then they had a ton. They had a ton of good cornerback play actually today. One of my favorite guys pre-draft, in I believe it was 2018. Maybe no, it was 2020. Was Bryce Hall, the cornerback from Virginia. And he got injured in his senior season and fell like all the way to, I think it was the 5th round, like pick 155 to 160. He fell. He had 3 passes defended, a half sack, 2 quarterback hits, 5 total tackles, 4 solo today. So he showed up when they needed him, and he wasn't facing AJ Brown or Julio Jones, but he showed up. So Asala to me is elevating the play of this defense right now. And he's doing what he was brought in to do.
Happy that the beautiful bald man got his first win. Many more to come. I don't know.
5 years from now.
I said nice stuff about Jalen Hurts, and I paid homage to Nick Sirianni, and then that's it.
That was your problem there, praising Jalen Hurts.
It's gonna be good. Anyways,
Yeah.
we're talking about quarterbacks
We'll
that
see.
should be praised, don't get enough love. Cliff Kingsbury is going to win Coach of the Year. Kyler Murray is going to win MVP. DeAndre Hopkins has hands bigger than Deontay's head. I told everybody that the Cardinals were going to win, and everybody was like, "No, they're not. You're dumb." And then they're like, "Why are you wearing a Cardinals hat?" And
Well,
I was
you're
like,
still
"'Cause they keep
dumb."
winning." And look at me now. The Jets won. I was right. Jalen Hurts played well. I was right. The Cardinals undefeated. I was right.
And you're
Deontay looks
still
like
dumb.
Lizzo. I was right. So
My God, he's not even here.
Yeah, but he's
It's
gonna watch
fine.
this later.
yeah,
And, you
Oh
know,
yeah, he's
that-
gonna hear it.
Yeah,
This
you know,
poor
it's
guy.
not like he's not gonna find out.
What did he ever do to deserve this? But you are right about what you said. I do think that the Cardinals pulled this one out. I do think that Deontay looks like Lizzo. I just think that
Deontay is Lizzo.
you had a good week of
Yes,
game
yes.
picks. It's not as satisfying as being able to go up every week, make your game picks, and then outplay X and win like 3-1, 4-1. That is a feeling that drugs can never replicate. So maybe we'll get on that. But hat off to you. Good job, Steven. You made some good game picks this week. Hat off as in take off the Cardinals hat.
I
Yes,
will wear
please.
this because the Cardinals are the best team in the
Red
NFC.
Sea, baby. All right. I mean, I got a good question for us. Who do we think is the top team in the league right now?
Top
Bills is
team.
not an acceptable answer.
Just
'Cause they
because it's
aren't.
true. No, I think that Buffalo are one of a top 2 team in the AFC. I don't think that's unreasonable. But we say we have no reason to believe that the AFC is better than the NFC right now. And the
Is
Cardinals
it
are the only
crazy
team
to say
that
the
have,
Rams?
I think it's the Rams still. I
I
just
do too.
I think that the Cardinals, we just they're new and exciting, and they've got a lot of strength that came in, or got a lot of strengths that came in all at once. But I think that this time in a couple of weeks, it's going to be the Rams back on top in the NFC West again.
That's not an outrageous take. Do you agree with that, Bryce?
Oh yeah, I do. I think the Rams are, excuse me, a lot better than they showed today. They have strengths everywhere on offense. You got a top defense. I mean, they just ran into a good team on a hot streak. So
Yeah,
Great
I think,
team on an all-time bender of a heater.
I think we'll know more by when they play their second divisional matchup, because I think
That's
that's
like
going to be the true indicator.
Week
'cause-
13.
Yeah,
Where week 13 is their next Rams matchup. Their next divisional matchup, we have next week against the Niners in Arizona
I think that's going to be
with Trey Lance. It will.
Wow. I mean, it'll be less so because Trey Lance is in at quarterback, I think. But I mean, the Rams need to prove that they could beat mobility at QB right now.
Here's what I think. I think that I'm talking about the Cardinals. The Cardinals next divisional matchup is next week. Against the Niners with Trey Lance. And to me, I feel like the storyline is going to be, what's Trey Lance going to look like? But that'll be telling of the Cardinals, because I feel like when you come in as an underdog and you've been on a hot streak and this is a divisional matchup and there's passion in it, you can pull out a win like that. Like that can happen and you can be the worst team in that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You can be outcoached or whatever, because you won't catch me dead. Even if he wins Coach of the Year, saying that Cliff Kingsbury is better than Sean McVay, you'll never, ever catch me doing that. So.
It stinks you feel that way. All right. One last thing, then everyone's going to go to bed.
except me.
Hartley, let's start with you. Who was your week 4? Drop your nuts on the table. Player of the week.
Hard, because I'll admit I would not. After not getting home till 3:30 a.m., I didn't watch the morning slate of games because it was technically 10 a.m. But I still think it's Derrick Henry. I mean, certainly they lost, and that's not pretty. But 157 yards. I mean, it might be what you expect from him, but it's dominant, and he's the front runner for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeston?
I was really hoping you wouldn't go to me next. I'm not ready.
I have mine. If you're not ready, I got mine.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Okay. Even through the loss, my drop my nuts on the table player of the week is DJ Moore. He had 8 touches, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In the last couple weeks, let's see, this is his 3rd week in a row with 8 receptions. He's had no less than 79 yards in each matchup. He's had a touchdown in 2 of them. He's up to 3 touchdowns on the season, and he has 398 yards through 4 weeks against, like an all-worldly Trayvon Diggs. This is why I'm not ready to buy into Trayvon Diggs being a top 3 guy right now. DJ Moore had 113 receiving yards, and he put up 79 yards on Marshawn Lattimore, and he dropped 126 on whoever the Texans are calling their CB1 right now, and he dropped 80 and on the Jets and whoever, I would say Bryce Hall. Against good, bad opponents, he's consistent. He puts up big yards. He's explosive. He's versatile. And he's always there, even without Christian McCaffrey. He's going to show up, and he's been banged up, like he has soft tissue damage, and he's playing through it. He's a tough guy, good player, consistent, underrated. No one's paying attention to him right now.
All right, I've got mine now.
Hit us.
Cordero Patterson.
Yes, I love this.
It's about time. I mean, like the dude's like late career resurgence has been unbelievable. But 11 touches, 6 carries for 34 yards is a 5.7 AVP. Oh, sorry, every AYC. Man, I got that messed up. Average yards to carry. That's a very good YPC. That's it. His receiving though, 5 receptions for 16.4 yards per reception. 82 yards total, 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
Every one of those touchdowns came on a different type of route too, from a different area, sort of the field. He hit like a huge. I think it was like a go route, a crossing route, and a fade.
He
I don't know.
can run every route. Like you
The
watch
man
his
is
tape, he
such
can literally
versatility.
run all of them.
I mean, there's nothing more entertaining than one of those guys who can do it all and gets the opportunity to do it all.
And the Falcons of
Because-
all teams are using him right.
Yeah. I mean, he's been misused so much of the prime of his the most athletic years of his career, and now here he is balling out, and I love
Who would
it.
have thought he'd be doing better than Kyle Pitts of all people?
Or Calvin Ridley.
Yeah,
And he's out rushing Mike Davis.
Taking snaps away from Mike Davis.
hang on, Mike Davis today, by the way, 13 carries, 14 yards, 1.1 yards.
But he had
per
a
carry.
touchdown and
He's a
helped me
scrub.
out in fantasy. So,
He had a receiving touchdown.
yep. Thank you for that. And he should have been tackled twice behind the line of scrimmage. But
Well, according to his yards per carry, he probably was.
so that's a good one. God, that's a great one. I've been on the Cordero Patterson hype train for like 2 or 3 weeks now. So, Bryce,
I gotta go with Tyreek Hill here. I mean, he had
Hmm.
186 yards and 3 TDs. Granted, it was against Steven Nelson, but he was still unguardable, and
Darius
they couldn't stop him at all.
make it sound a little better. Darius Slay, Anthony Harris is out there too.
Yeah, I mean, but Steven Nelson guarded him a little bit more.
Most of the game. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
most of the
think
game.
he was. I would have said him. I mean, I'd say that's another valid guy. What was his average yards per catch today?
Hold on, I got the stats right here.
Maybe
About 11.
16.9.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
16.9. That is
44 yards.
good stuff.
Yeah, as long as 44 yards.
You know, I always look at that. Like, what if you had one less touch and that long didn't happen? Then what does your box score look like? And there are a
Yeah,
ton of
take
people.
away the outliers,
It's
right?
still
Right.
142,
And
though.
it's still
It's insane.
that is the mark of a great player when they're long
On 12
taken
targets,
out and
so
they
he
still
didn't
have a
even catch
crazy
one.
line.
On 12 targets, too, so he still only dropped one pass.
That's well, I will say that is something that goes overlooked is these for quarterbacks. It's like how many passes did no one knows this. I guarantee none of you knew this. Jameis Winston, he had 6 less completions than attempts today. He was 17 for 23. Tyreek Hill was what 11 for 12. Something like that. Cordero Patterson, I don't think he dropped a pass today. I think it was overthrown maybe a couple times, but like these players who are really balling out are putting up like great numbers when it comes to what's your catch radius when you're a tight end or a wide receiver, how many are you going to drop, how many are you going to miss if they're high or low or whatever. Like, tape doesn't lie. I watched a little bit of that Chiefs game and Tyreek Hill was like incredible. So Steven, do you have one?
Of course.
Hey, man, drop your nuts.
Zach Wilson.
No, that. you would
Michael
think that.
Carter.
No.
Pick which one you want. Pick which
So-
Carter you
Corey
want.
Davis.
Okay, I don't talk like that anyways, but mine's actually not a player. Mine is a member of a coaching staff. So this is my drop your nuts on the, well, technically Barstool coach of the week, Urban Meyer. How this old head gets more girls at bars than I do. I don't care if the video is old or not. How this guy's able to do it.
He
He's
has
got
a wife.
He's got a girlfriend, apparently. He's got Trevor Lawrence, and he lives in Florida. Like, this dude has an embarrassment of riches that I'll never be able to comprehend. I'm like a 6 foot tall, like, objectively ugly white dude from New Jersey. Like, get me one
He's
of those
bagging
things.
more girls than
Dude,
he's
you can
bagging
fix
W's.
one of those things by moving out of New Jersey.
Yeah, you can be black
Hey.
if you just like
I already
change a couple
did that.
things.
To be fair.
Yeah. See?
Yeah,
Ethan, are you
so-
happier now?
Yeah, so Urban, like, I don't know. You might have heart problems. You might not have a win in the NFL yet, but at least you got another shorty.
He's got several job offers for college gigs.
This
I would
is-
say I can understand Steven's neck of the woods in New Jersey. I like being close to the city and all the opportunities I get from there. So
Mm.
that's why North Jersey stinks.
This is a great group of guys. Always a fun podcast with you four.
Well, we try our hardest, you know.
It's just such a pleasure.
Yeah, see, it's times like this where I'm genuinely unsure if I'm being mocked or appreciated.
Appreciated.
He didn't
Oh,
say any of
that's-
your
that's-
terms, so
I know
that
it's
probably
not.
would've
It's
been
new for
mocking.
me.
Okay, well, in that case, I feel special.
Yeah, well,
I appreciate the comment.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
that's week 4. This will be on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a TikTok out of it. You know, talking about Urban Meyer just like hanging wood everywhere in Jacksonville, Florida. We'll be back a couple of times this week. It's pretty exciting. A lot of sports to get into. It's October. It's pretty fun. You know, Tolva's probably going to come on here one of these weeks talking about how good the Saints are and whatnot with his pumpkin spice, and then I don't know.
I don't drink pumpkin spice chai lattes.
I didn't say chai lattes, but how did you know that?
I know what you people think of me. I'm better than this, okay? I drink iced vanilla
you really,
lattes.
Are you
Iced
really?
vanilla latte is better than a chai tea that you see some of the rich white boys walking to my school with every morning. So yeah, it could be worse.
Okay, but if there are rich white boys at your school, then
That drink chai tea lattes every morning and put their pinky up when they're sipping.
yeah. Okay, see, putting the pinky up when you're sipping is something even we don't do. So, you know they're just pretentious if they do that.
Right.
Meanwhile, I will gladly go grab my double from Timmy's for like $1.50.
This is mostly
The best bakery.
Yes,
Thank you, yes,
absolutely. Although I still maintain Canadian Timmy's
Is
better
this-
than US Timmy's. I'll
is
bring you
this a-
some real Timmy's
Oh,
next game.
Is this a
I will.
caffeinated goods podcast now?
It is. Welcome to Wavelengths. We're sponsored by whoever happens to give us money this week.
Hate to break it, I've actually never had a sip of coffee in my life.
Hey, Ethan. You gotta get that, man. Come on. This is
No,
just the
you
next
hate
stage.
coffee.
it's so
I
You
hate
bad.
can't say that on live TV, man.
This isn't live TV, Andrew. He's
People are
still
gonna come
very
for you.
upset.
You can't say that on semi-live TV. Live and a
It's
half,
Also, still
No,
is a
it
TV.
is-
Like
it
this is
is
not
live.
a TV show. Like by
It could
any
be on a
stretch of the
TV.
imagination.
This
It
is
can be,
live
but that doesn't
because
make it a
Steven's
TV
gonna
show.
post
could
it
be on
regardless of
ESPN.
what we say.
That's true. Yeah, he's not gonna edit this at all. So he's just gonna say, you guys, clown the crap out of yourselves.
No,
Welcome to the internet.
like the podcast, I'll probably put like a disclaimer, like about how we talk about the Patriots for like way too long, and nobody wants to hear that.
Say skip to blank, skip the Patriots. part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Skip the first 2 hours of this.
Happy week 4, everybody.
Yeah. Happy week 4. See y'all Tuesday.
Go Birds.
see you then.